Welcome to this episode of Wanderlust Solo Women Travel Unscripted. Real women, real stories, real journeys, and no filter. Join Gina, your host, to share the experiences and stories of solo female travelers and advocates from all over the world, with a mission to empower women of all ages, backgrounds, and life stages to embrace solo female travel with confidence and enthusiasm, while being authentic and real, unscripted. Confronting the challenges and apprehensions many women face when considering solo adventures, providing inspiration to break through those barriers, sharing how life transitions, loss, and trauma can lead to amazing experiences, rediscovery, and life journeys. The good, the bad, and the ugly of authentic and honest travel. So let's throw out the script, get comfy, and jump right into this episode.
Ever felt like lightening the load, wanting to experience the joy of travelling light? Join me and Katherine Leamy, known as the 5 Kilo Traveller. She is a New Zealand-based advocate for packing lighter and travelling solo. She inspires people worldwide to travel light and shares practical tips and stories through her blog and social media. Katherine's approach encourages focusing on experiences over possessions, drawing from her own adventures across continents while staying true to her minimalist philosophy. She is the author of Dare to Travel Solo and was recently awarded the Journeywoman Solo Travel Wisdom Award for 2026. So come with us and let's get comfy so we can delve into this episode. Welcome everyone back to the show, and I am very excited to welcome Katherine, the 5 Kilo Traveller, to the show. Welcome.
Thank you.
Katherine has just come back from 2 exciting adventures, which we'll delve into as well. And she's got a lot of insights around how you can pack light, but also what else that means in your whole travel ethos. It's not just physically packing light, it's mentally packing light. So I can't wait to look and delve into that. But first, we have our past puzzle question. Everybody knows what this is. So my question for you from the previous guest is, what is the first thing you do when you get to a new destination?
Well, people will understand this more after this conversation. But the first thing I do when I get to a destination is I actually unpack my bag. The very first thing I do, because I travel really minimally and I want to get everything out. And I usually stay in one place for a while, so 7 nights kind of thing. And I just want to get everything out so I can see it all, because there's very little. There's just a couple of T-shirts, pair of trousers, some underwear, jersey, puffer jacket. But I just like to see it all, and I like to hang it, and I like to air it, because if you're wearing clothes a lot, you need to air them. And I just like to be able to see everything out, and it makes me feel very much at home. I can actually spread it quite far and wide around the room. But but it's just, I don't know, for me it's like being at home. I want to just unpack my bag.
Yeah, and settle in. And sort of it does segue perfectly into what you're all about, which is packing light, hence 5 Kilo Traveller.
Yeah.
And 5 kilos, by the way, is very light. If anyone doesn't know, like I can get a carry-on, I'm around, like if it's a check-in bag, I'm about 11 kgs. Obviously, carry-on, it's about 7, depending on what airlines. But so I really take my hats off to you for 5 kilos.
Yeah, I should really say that it's not a competition. So there's absolutely no shame in any bag weights that you carry. My kind of philosophy, I started off as the 5 kilo. I went to Europe with, I think, 5.5 kilos for a month. But now, like, I went to Melbourne last year with 3.5 kilos for a long weekend. But then I've just come back from Japan, and it was a different kind of trip. And I came back with about 10 kilos and had to check a bag in. So it's what works for you at the time for the type of trip that you're on. I guess the big lesson, though, is that we don't have to be carrying those 30 kilo bags or the 25 kilos or extra bags, because it's kind of unnecessary unless you're moving country. That's different.
And I quite often see just in different travel groups when, say, someone's booked a tour with a company, and the company might state, please make sure you only have one bag, or it's only up to a certain weight. Now, there's reasons behind that, isn't there? I mean, you can share that. For me, it's been the modes of transport
Yeah.
and just the ease of them getting your luggage around. And also, if you get, say, there's 10 people on a trip, and each of them brings two suitcases, then that's a whole nother van.
I know,
So has
exactly.
that been your experience?
Yeah, definitely with group travel, particularly when they're moving. I do a lot of hiking trips, so often they're moving the luggage between the accommodation and the next destination. And like in Japan, some of it's actually going overnight, so you won't actually see it for a night. You'll see it the following day. But it's kind of, they've got limits on what they can carry as well. And even in some places, it's just a van that's doing it. So they can't be filling up a van with these massive suitcases. And I know even I was doing a trip in Western Australia, and they said they wanted soft bags that were 15 kilos or less, because they were shoving them in the back of a bus, and just wasn't the room for anything else.
Yeah, and it's something really to consider. And I want to touch on first, as we go into about packing light, where did your journey about, packing light and all this come from? What was your origin story behind it?
Well, basically, it's in 2017, I was going on a trip to Croatia and Italy. And originally, I was traveling with a friend, and she pulled out, and I decided that I still wanted to go. And I discussed it with my then husband and kids, and there was a little bit of discussion, but I was pretty much resolved that I was going on this trip. It was all happening in my head, so I was ready to go ahead. But then I realized that I didn't have him around or anyone else to look after my bag. And basically, safety became my number one priority. And really, I needed to carry a bag that I could manage myself. I had a frozen shoulder at the time, so I was kind of a bit limited with mobility. Don't think I could get my arm up very high. So it needed to be something easy. I'd also read an email from a friend who had something like 7 trains and buses from France to Italy, and her husband was running around lifting bags and things like this. And I just thought, I'm not going to have anyone like that. And also, I'm not going to have someone keeping an eye on my bag. So I need it to be attached to me. So hence, I then went into a sports shop luggage shop in Hamilton, and thought, oh, yeah, that bag looks about the right size. Absolutely no planning as to what would go in the bag, but they said it would take a maximum weight of 8 kilos. And I thought, well, I can make it sure it's carry on. The rest initially it was definitely all about safety. But since then, within that trip, it just became glaringly obvious why traveling lighter was the way to go.
Yeah, and I think that's really important, because I know when I did my first backpacking adventure, I mean, the thing is, it's stupid little things like even going to the toilet, at an airport. You don't want to leave it outside the cubicle.
Yeah.
So you've got to take it in with you. Or if you need to duck in somewhere, so I mean, they have different things now, but like the hybrid bags, which have wheels in a backpack. So there's lots of variety to choose from.
Yeah.
But it's also, when you're relying on yourself, like you said, and you're racing to a train or to catch a flight because they've called your name or whatever, you've got to be able to pick everything up. And I think mentally, it's such a freeing experience traveling light. Can you share that? Because I know I've definitely experienced that.
Yeah, I mean, I've got loads of moments, both when I've traveled with carry on or with check in as well, or I've traveled with someone who has checked luggage. And so I think, being able to take your bag off the overhead locker or underneath the seat and just walk off the plane, go straight through immigration, straight through customs, And to be, to arrive in any country and be basically on their local train system within half an hour of landing, knowing that people will still be at the luggage carousel waiting. So like I'm first in line for the Ubers or the taxis. Or one funny one was when my daughter and I went to New York, and she was carrying a small checked in bag. It was only about 10 or 11 kilos, but we had to wait for her luggage. And I was looking at the Uber prices, and it went up and up and up as we were waiting. And by the time we got her bag, it was double because, of course, by that stage, everyone else was coming out. And yeah, it was incredible just seeing that financial impact.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I think one of the hardest things I've struggled with, I've managed to really get what I take down, because one tip I do, and I'd love you to share your tips, is I lay everything out on my bed like a month before I'm going to go, and then start taking things out, because I've learned I always overpack.
Yeah.
What are some of your best tips on how to reduce what you're taking? And I know for me, one of the hardest things that has been to reduce, I've got my toiletries down now, but what I've found is it's actually like my medications, like, supplements and all that, they seem to take up a lot of room. So what are some gems you can share around that?
So I think I agree with you, laying things out a week or two before you, or longer if you can, hanging them up before you go. Because, for instance, if you can see what you're going to be wearing, if the weather outside, when you're in the room and you go, oh, the weather outside today is really hot. Could I wear any of these outfits if it was hot? Would they work? And you kind of start to look at the weather outside. And even though, or you might be looking at the weather in the location, and it might say that it's 25 degrees with high humidity. And you think, I wonder if those outfits would work. So it gives you a time. I totally agree with you, actually thinking about how things work. One of my other things is making sure that you've got layers, and it will be, people say, oh, but I'm traveling across seasons, or I'm in spring and summer. But if you only need the base layers, and we don't always even need leggings. I think we just need a good merino layer, or a good, warm layer underneath, and then wearing things that will layer on top of it to give you extra warmth. And I really try and go for the merino or the natural fibers and the wool, because it's doesn't smell. You can wear it for multiple days. You need to air it at night, but you don't need to wash it every day. It's warm, and it's got those, I can't remember the word, hypothermic values, but it keeps you warm when it's cold, and you keeps you cool when it's hot. um, but layers, and making sure that everything mixes and matches, like not taking a top that only goes with one outfit. It's got to be something that goes with everything.
Yeah, I love that, because I do color coordinate. People might think I'm OCD, but it's not. It's for that reason, because if I can layer and color coordinate, then I know I can, exactly what you said, mix and match things and get like multiple outfits out of less things.
Yeah.
So what about the toiletries and the medication side of it? What should share some stuff on that one?
Toiletries. So toiletries is how we had this whole liquids.
Yeah.
And that's kind of changing. Like, they don't want to see our liquid bags anymore, and I'm kind of a bit confused about all that. But I try and reduce the amount of liquids I take anyway, because liquids get used up a lot faster. So I tend to go for solid things. So solid deodorant, a laundry bar for hand washing. So deodorant, moisturizer, I sometimes use a moisturizer bar for that. And what else do I do? My makeup is these tiny little containers. And so there's only like a bit of foundation, a bit of eyeliner, and a bit of, or an eyeliner pencil is even smaller, and some eyeshadow. And lipstick, I put in a little pottle, nothing too big. And I only have one lipstick. I don't take a whole I don't take, 5 or 6. So with toiletries, it is about taking what you need, and I can get a little bit OCD myself with counting the drops, like literally going, this is how many drops I use for whatever. And I count, if I'm going away for 15 days, it's 15 drops into the container. And things like I use toothpaste tablets. So they actually can take up just as much space as a liquid toothpaste. But if you're trying to keep your liquids down, then that's quite a good one. The other thing I do is I have a solid shampoo bar and a solid conditioner bar. But again, if you're okay with if you're staying at accommodation, most of those places normally have that. So you don't need it. In fact, I was in Japan recently and I hardly used my shampoo. I just thought, oh, bugger it, I'll use the hotel shampoo. Yeah. So it was.
Yeah, because I go through conditioner. So I'm not too fussy. Like if I'm going away for a certain length of time, like I have a certain brand I use here, but if I'm going away for a couple of weeks or whatever, my hair's not going to fall out if I use a different brand.
Yeah.
So shampoos, like you said, you either can buy them super cheap at 7-Elevens or something like that. But conditioner for me, I do take conditioner because I go through a hell of a lot of it.
Yeah.
I'm a bit like you. I make sure I have it enough. And it is that, and you are right too, a lot of airlines are changing what you can take. So if you're doing carry-on, I think the solids is a really good idea because then you're just eliminating that risk.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you're checking it in, well, that's a different story. And I always put everything in Ziploc bags when it's liquids as well because you don't want to open your bag and it's gone everywhere.
Yep.
That's one of the worst things.
I used to travel with a purple hair conditioner.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And the purple shampoo thing. And it leaked. So,
yeah.
And it went everywhere.
So that's a good one is having Ziploc bags and just whacking that stuff in there. What about shoes?
So I try and aim for 3 pairs of shoes. I don't know what's going to happen when the fashion changes and white sneakers are no longer vogue because I'm going to be absolutely, I don't know, I'm going to pull my hair out. But currently I wear my white sneakers with everything. They're not high fashion, but they do the trick. Wear them with everything. I wear them at home. And that's the other thing with shoes. Wear the ones that are comfortable. The ones that go with all your outfits. Don't go and buy something new and then go on holiday. The other shoes I wear is I always take a pair of jandals just in case I'm in a situation where I just want to air my feet really and have a break from shoes. And then because I do a lot of hiking, I take hiking boots as well. But when I'm traveling, like on my travel days, I actually wear my hiking boots when I'm traveling and moving because it's just a lot. They take up a lot of room in the bag. So I just have to wear them and that's that.
Yeah, when I went and did my first big OE, one of my things is I was doing some woofing, so I was working on an estate gardening. So and it was my first time like backpacking. And mind you, I'm 40, so it's not like I was 20.
Yeah.
And I was just freaking out what I needed and what. So no kidding, I bought a really good pair of hiking boots, which I did use because I used them at the work. But I took a pair of heels. And I took like sneakers and jandals, way overpacked. Those heels got sent home. They were really nice leather ones, so I didn't want to get rid of them. And I am now one of my favorite things to wear. I've got high top Converse ones, and they've got a real high padded sole. And for me, I wear them everywhere, and you can dress them up a little bit, like you said. Hopefully, fashion doesn't change, but. Yeah, same thing. Slingback jandals, for those that don't know what jandals are, they're like flip-flops. And and a pair of closed-toed sneakers for me, if you're not hiking. So, but they're definitely Jandals can fold up into nothing.
Yeah.
You wear your heavier shoes on the plane. That's the best thing. But yeah, I'd go 3 pairs of shoes and leave the heels at home.
Yeah.
And so, going back to your origin story.
Yep.
And then something else came out of that, which is your book, Dare to Travel Solo, which you've just been at a local book event here in New Zealand. Do you want to share a little bit? Have you got a copy for us? There we go. I love the cover.
I know, it's so bright.
So that's Italy, isn't it?
Yes, that's a Cinque Terre. Yeah. So
what's in the book?
Basically, when people have read it, they forget that it's actually a memoir. They think it's a novel because it's written like a novel. It's about the backstory about me and about my travels, and then it's about I was working at Waikato Hospital, and I saw a magazine on the table, and it was of Croatia, lavender fields, and a biking tour. And I was talking to my friend about it, and said, would you be interested in going? Originally, she was really keen, but then her circumstances changed and she didn't end up going, but I carried on. And so then it's basically the memoir around the trip and what my experience was, and how I found it, and that it wasn't straightforward. I did think I'd gone completely mad. I thought, what have I done? I left my family at home, and I just thought, what have I done? This is crazy. But when I landed, so I started off in Dubrovnik. So it was basically, a week, 10 days in Dubrovnik and the Dalmatian Islands, 10 days on the Amalfi Coast, and Capri, and then 10 days in the Cinque Terre region. And it was the moment I landed in Dubrovnik, I got off the plane, had a bit of a panic. I'd already had a panic at the first airport, saying goodbye to the family, had another panic at Dubrovnik, and I was on the bus and I thought, I'm going to be all right. This is going to be fine. And walking through the Palais Gate in Dubrovnik, in the old town, and walking down the strata, and the cacophony, the noise of everyone with their wheelie bags, like it was just horrendous.
Yeah, on the cobbles.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh my God, the racket. I was so relieved that I had my little pack. I've got my pack here.
Yes, please show us.
This is it.
The infamous pack.
Yeah, it's looking a bit rough and ready at the moment. But it was just, so it's a story of that trip, really. It's a story of the conversations that I had. It's more about my personal experience. I don't tell stories of other travelers, and I do, but they're not identifiable. But it's really about my experience and my growth from doing something like that when people thought that I had gone completely mad.
If you don't mind me asking, what age were you when you did that?
49.
Yeah. So do you think it was partly, there's twofold there. One, the fact you were leaving your family behind, and then the fact of your age. Do you think that was a factor in why people thought you were a bit crazy?
Definitely. I think because I used to travel quite a bit with the family, so it wasn't like they weren't travelers or anything. But I think it was that age thing of, and it was silly because 49's nothing.
I know.
49's young. I'm now 58, nearly 59, and I'm thinking, well, 59's young too. It's just, I think we put barriers up and think that and people say, I could never do that. And yet, actually, I think they could.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's lots of things that we say in life that we can't do, or we're told, or we tell ourselves, I can't do that. But in actual fact, if it's a bit like that whole thing. People say, I can't run a marathon, but a marathon runner doesn't just walk out the door one morning and going to run a marathon today. They start off by buying the gear and buying the shoes and going for 10-minute run or whatever it is their base level is, and they build up and build up. It's not, you don't walk out the door and go completely unprepared. And the other thing is now, within 10 years, there is an absolute huge number of women who travel solo. And it's just everywhere. And it's one of the fastest growing travel sectors in the world. It's absolutely booming.
What do you know? I'll go into it a little bit more because we're both part of the Journey Woman directory, and they did an amazing study around this. But what do you think? Why do you think there's so many, especially midlife and over, women travelers now? I mean, I know solo travel was always about the younger person, that 20 age gap, Do you think there's a reason behind women taking that leap now and seeing more women out there doing it?
I think for my cohort of people who've come through perimenopause and menopause, I don't think we're taking shit anymore. Am I allowed to say that? I just
100%.
think that I think there's a real wave of women saying, I'm over being told what to do. I'm over being told, and whether it's hormones or whether it's just getting to that stage where you go, damn it, I'm going to do what I want to do. And I just think, and it's like I'm seeing women in their 60s, 70s, 80s doing exactly the same. I think it's a real liberation happening, and I think it's fantastic because
Yeah.
the women that are older than me are leading the way as well, and we're all leading the way for younger ones. Like I'm on this first trip, I met these young traveling single females, and we all met up quite by accident. And, they were saying, oh, we want to be doing this when we're your age. And I'm going, yes, do it, do it. Because you can. There's nothing to stop you.
Yeah. Do you think having conversations like this, especially now women are talking about perimenopause and menopause and having more open conversations, like I'd even say 5 years ago, having a conversation openly, especially on social media or something, wasn't a thing.
I know.
Especially definitely 10 years ago.
I know.
100% not. So do you think by having these conversations, it's giving women the choice or the go ahead to be able to say, okay, yeah, I can go and do this. There are other women going through the same shit I'm going through.
Yeah.
So they can do it. I can do it.
I mean, I don't remember the conversations 10 years ago. And I think it's through social media and just the word is getting out there. People have platforms now. There are podcasts and there are, like, it's just, people are writing books about menopause and perimenopause and the impact and what women are doing, and people are celebrating what women are doing now. And it's there's a real movement to it that, this, whether it's, what do they call it, the third stage or something.
Stage, yeah, I think something like that,
Yeah, but it's kind of like, yeah, we can do whatever we want. We're only limited by our choices or, what we decide to do. And I just think it's really exciting. I think it's really, really exciting. And I think the more we talk about it now, like it's going to be neat for, the young woman coming through now. They're going to have role models and people talking about things, and they won't believe that we never talked about these things,
I know.
10 years ago.
That's crazy. I didn't even know, it's only probably, the last few recent years that there was a thing called perimenopause.
Yeah.
What was that?
Many of our mothers never spoke about menopause, what their experience was, and if you asked it, you were just fobbed off. Whereas now, people are saying, oh, I've had this and this and this, and this is what I use. I'm on HRT, and this is why I use it, and it's kind of like, I feel like we're in the middle of an information revolution around menopause because it's just happening everywhere, and it's fantastic. And I think it's information that women need. being kept in the dark around menopause was a terrible thing, because you had no idea. I mean, I sort of wonder sometimes with the reason why I went on this trip was in fact
Yeah.
because of some perimenopausal stuff I was going through, that I just needed a change. I'd had enough. I needed a break. Um,
Yeah.
but I didn't go into that in the book because I really, even when I was writing the book, which was 3 years ago, I tried to write in the time that I did the travel. I didn't want to put stuff into it that hadn't been true at the time. So I didn't talk about much about menopause or anything like that because it wasn't a thing. It wasn't,
Yeah.
I mean, it was definitely a thing, but it certainly wasn't talked about like it is now.
That's quite a cool reflection to have. Even now, you reflecting on that experience again, but in using different eyes.
Yeah.
And I think that's definitely a common thread that, women, I'd say like 40 and up are wanting to rediscover themselves. And I think travel is an incredible way. And I think to remove the guilt around it, like you leaving your family and stuff, it's not about being selfish either, and I think
Mm,
that's really needs to be talked about because, I'm very lucky. When I did my solo travels, I was single, but I've got a partner now. He's amazingly supportive of my solo travels still, and I think if you are single and then you do find a partner, you need someone that encourages that side of you and doesn't stifle it because it's part of who you are.
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And with, like I just touched on, we're part of Journeywoman, I just want to congratulate you
Oh,
because you won the Journeywoman Wisdom Award. Journeywoman is a Canadian based travel directory. They're quite huge. So if you're looking for trips for women, they're a great resource. But that was an amazing achievement, wasn't it?
I
And great
know.
to be recognised and acknowledged.
Yeah. I think I was really blown away because I read the, uh, the bios of the other finalists, and I just thought, they've done amazing things and that's incredible. So when they called my name out as the recipient of the award, I was absolutely blown away. I couldn't believe it. But it was really nice because they kind of acknowledged the fact that a lot of what I do it's just free. It's all out there. It's the website, it's social media, and I'm just doing it because I want to help people. I want to give people
Yeah.
a way to do things, and they can buy the book if they want to support me. But really, everything else is free, and I love it. I love doing it. It's a passion, and it's a lifestyle, and it's also just a really lovely thing to do, and it's such a creative outlet for me, and they were
Yeah.
that's kind of what they really, honed in on. It was the fact that, yeah, I think I do it just out of the because I want to.
It's heart led. That's what
Yes.
I like to call it.
Yeah, definitely heart-led. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I've shared, there's been a few authors on here also and there and other people that want to encourage women, and that's been the great thing, that it is a heart-led passion they have,
Yeah.
that they genuinely want to share, support, encourage and help other women have amazing experiences. And I always say we bang on about the solo travel and blah, 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 but there is amazing transformation that happens. Like it happened for you, and it's hard to put words to it sometimes.
Yeah. So I mean, that's all in the book, but it's interesting because the book was nearly 10 years ago now. Well, that trip, sorry, was 10 years ago. I've never had a trip or a holiday or adventure that has been as life changing as that particular trip because it was such a thing of discomfort and
Yeah.
hard to like the initial shock, but it was just the growth I got from it and the confidence,
Yeah.
and that's where the bag came in. Carrying a light bag meant that I could jump in a van or a taxi or, like, I mean, I've traveled many countries in the world now with just my little bag, and the experience of just being able to not have to wait for a vehicle that's got more space because I just put my bag on my lap. It's just, yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, in China, I ended up on the back of a scooter with my bag on my back.
Yeah, and you've just come back from 2 amazing trips, one to South America and one helping manage a travel group in Japan.
Yeah.
Those are 2 quite different trips because one, obviously, you were hiking in South America.
Yeah. So I was hiking in Patagonia. It's one of my happy places. There's Argentina side, El Chotan, which is a kind of hiking mecca. Absolutely loved it. That was all my hiking gear. That was because it's cold. Even though it was summer, it was cold, or the end of summer. So you had to carry all your layers and everything, but I still managed. I think I went over with about 6.5 kilos. I came back with a bit more because I did a bit of shopping.
That's okay though. Like I always I quite often take a little tote bag, those little
Yes.
tiny ones. And if I buy souvenirs and stuff because I don't want to lose them, I'll sometimes check my bag home.
Yeah.
And I'll carry all that stuff on the plane with me.
Yeah. Yep, that's exactly what I do. And then my most recent one was just in Japan, where I was a tour manager for a company in New Zealand, and we had a local guide with us who was incredible. And I took a wheelie suitcase, and because I had to carry a tour manual and a big first aid kit and kind of more extra stuff, so I took a checked bag, a wheelie bag. And it was handy, and it was probably about the 8 kilos. It wasn't particularly heavy, and it was neat because I could actually fill it up with souvenirs and things like that. But I did feel sometimes walking along the cobblestone streets of a village in Japan, and my rattly bag is clanging along the footpath. I didn't quite like that so much. But and then of course I had to experience waiting for checked luggage. But I was with a tour group and we were waiting for everyone's luggage. So it kind of didn't matter anyway. But it was, even a small wheelie bag suitcase is a lot easier than a bigger bag, a full size bag. So even just traveling with, I think maybe when I came home, I had, probably about 10 kilos, but in that 10 kilos are also in my backpack, my checked bag, my carry-on bag. I had what they call a subagawa or buckwheat husk pillow, which is heavy, and it was about 3 kilos. So that was I was dying to buy a pillow over there in Japan.
Did you get that back to New Zealand?
Yeah. And customs, I pulled it out in customs and they said that's fine. It's been processed and, was still in its original packing because I thought I better make sure that they see that it's not something handmade So.
Well, with those, so I went and bought myself my first hard case carry-on bag. So it's the bigger, the sort of the bigger size you can get for carry-on, because that's when I was going to Cuba, so I needed my backpack, but I had a whole lot of things to donate. What I got caught out with is I packed it all. I could put heaps in that case, but the case actually weighed 2 kgs in itself.
Yes.
So then I was over the weight for carry-on. So I ended up having to take heaps out, and I was like, I've got a half-empty suitcase now.
Yeah.
So I did get caught out like that. But then again, on a recent trip I went last year to Vietnam, ended last year, and there were 2, and I was so impressed. There were 2 young girls that were on our tour group, and they, the small hard case bags you can get, the quite small ones.
Yeah.
That's all they took for 2 weeks. Both of them, they had one each, and I was so impressed with them. And that they seemed to, they always had a different, looked like they had a different outfit. I was like, I gave them a high five because I was like, you don't often see, young girls with that little tiny bag.
Exactly.
So I was highly impressed.
I do find that wheelie bags or suitcases are a lot harder to pack than a a day pack, a backpack. Backpacks, you can really stuff things down, whereas in a suitcase, I find that's not very easy to do at all. But then there's that thing that if you get a bigger bag, you pack more in and it becomes heavier. So
Yeah. So as we round out this episode, what are some of your top packing tips that you've got for anybody?
Clearly there's the layers. Layers are essential, and mix and match. And wearing things that are multi-purpose. So, like a lot of people often, when I was younger, and I see them still doing, is wearing like a denim shirt. It can be tied up like a jacket, a denim jacket. It's just an extra layer. It's warmth, etc., and it looks a bit smart. It can look a bit smarter.
Yeah.
Little things like jewelry can change an outfit. A scarf can change an outfit really easily. Some of mine are literally as big as one fist, really, when they're folded up. I'm a big fan of a neck buff, for sun protection, but I've used it as to keep my hair off my face. I've stuffed a puffer jacket inside it and used it as a pillow. That's a recent trick I learnt. Um, what else do I? Other tips. The toiletries, of course, get them down to as small as you can. But like you, I find that there's more things that I want to take now, like, things like Barocca or Hydrolite or,
Yes.
those things start adding up. And then there's the technology as well. And when I went away the first time, I just took my phone. But now sometimes I want to do some blogging while I'm away. If I'm on a slow trip where I'm in a place for a week, I might want to do some writing. But in all honesty, I take my little, like, what do you call it, tablet thing. It very rarely sees the light of day.
Yeah, I must admit I'm a bit the same. I have a little tech bag.
Yep.
So I can put all my chargers in there, my travel adapters, any other tech stuff. So it's kept separate. And you are right with the other thing I do take I do take a medical kit.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I do, and then I buy like a general antibiotic and stuff like that and pack that. So that also tends to take up a bit of space, but I don't like traveling without one now. They always come in handy.
Yeah, exactly. And same, I do that as well. A little first aid kit to sort of, it's kind of, and I'll take, enough Panadol for a few days kind of thing. But interesting, you've just got to you make sure that what you take you can find in the country that you're going to if you don't have enough of it. But I take antibiotics. It's just not worth it now it's just so much easier to, and you can contact your GP now when you're overseas.
I know some of the pharmacies overseas, especially Southeast Asia, are incredible. You can get everything over the counter. So, I mean, that's like you said, if you just take things for the first few days, you can top up once you're there. So that's not as bad, but as long as you've got something to back you up.
Yeah. Yep.
And as we sort of wind down now, what is your question you're going to ask the next guest?
Well, my question is, what has been your most memorable meal when you've been traveling?
Awesome.
I got asked that by my cousin when I got back from my first overseas trip, and I thought that was the best question I'd ever been asked.
What was it?
It was, so my friends and I were in the Gangtok and Sikkim region up in northeast India, and it was kind of there was some political stuff going on, some tension, there were some rebels, and the rebels had cut the power. I was a bit naive. Anyway, the rebels had cut the power.
That's another story.
I know. But we had planned to go and walk to this monastery, and it was part of the Yellow Hats, which is the monastery of the Dalai Lama. So we decided we were going to go walking to the monastery. So at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the morning, set my alarm, but the girls wouldn't wake up. They didn't want to go. So I went off by myself in the middle of nowhere, walking with my Lonely Planet, following this map to where no phones, nothing, you just wandered off. came across a Scottish monk who said,
Okay.
"What are you doing here, lass?" He took me to the monks were, and anyway, after all the prayers and singing and everything, chanting that they were doing, they invited me to stay for a drink, and I said okay. And it was came out in a big bowl, and it looked like mushroom soup. And I thought, oh, I wonder what this is. And then they said, do you like tea? And I said, oh, yes. And I'm thinking, and in India, we'd only been drinking black tea. Anyway, I thought it really looks like mushroom soup. It's got the same texture as mushroom soup. But when I drank it, I went, this is not mushroom soup and this is not tea. But it was tea with yak butter as the milk. And it was really interesting flavor that I'd never tasted before. And my mother told me that I had to finish everything was good manners. So I drank the whole bowl of this. And that is by far my most memorable meal of my travels.
I love that story. What a perfect way to end this episode. Where can everyone find you, Katherine?
So I'm on social media. I'm the 5 Kilo Traveller. The website, www.5kilotraveller.com. And my book is on the website. It's also available on everywhere that you can buy books, generally online. And there's a couple of places in New Zealand where you can get it, Poppies, and it's also on Book Hub, which is an online bookstore in New Zealand as well.
And I'm going to put all those details down in the show notes. It's been so good chatting to you. I actually literally could keep talking. So thank you so much.
Oh, that was awesome. It was great.
And remember, everyone, to stay tuned to the next episode, and it's never too late to unleash your wanderlust.
Thanks for listening. Please share the love by liking, commenting, or subscribing, or join us in our Facebook community.